Tasted bad. I don't want to talk about it. It was 8 p.m., and I was sitting in the kitchen reading Car and Driver. My wife approached me and asked to speak with me in the living room. I kind of laughed because I thought she was being a little formal. We sat down side by side on the sofa and she looked me in the eyes and said, "I have been sleeping with a co-worker." My mind went blank and all emotion left my body. I felt as though I had fallen down a well. I was so caught by surprise that I had no response nor questions to ask. I just instantly sensed that my life as I knew it was over. We have been married for 17 years. Because of my upbringing and life experiences, my marriage was my life. It was how I measured myself as a man. My maternal great-grandfather, maternal grandfather and father were horrendous cheaters and abusers. In fact, all three got women pregnant while their wives were pregnant. I vowed I would never take one step down the path they chose, and I didn't. I am taking one day at a time and strangely still do not seem overly interested in her side of the story. I made her go to a hotel while I process this, to answer some of the questions you guys might wonder. 1. Did she say why she told you? We had just returned from a week visit with her side of the family. My in-laws have always shown me respect and love. We have really taken to each other as family. She said the way I showed respect to her parents made her realize how important I was to her and that she felt as though I should know what she did. Her answer seemed convoluted and confusing to me. By the way she explained herself and her body language, I got a sense she did not fully appreciate the significance of her behavior before she told me. I honestly think she probably would not have told me if understood the ramifications of her behavior. Her logic and explanation were very strange to me. 2. Did she say how long this has been going on? 3 months. 3. What do you know about the OM? Co-worker, married, 3 kids, short, pudgy, balding. 4. Is she remorseful and willing to work on the marriage? I get a weird vibe of remorselessness from her. It's hard to explain. Kind of like, "I'm sorry, now let's go out to dinner." She said she wants to work on the marriage, and she proudly said, "No more sleeping with anyone outside the marriage." I got the sense I was supposed to be impressed with that after 17 years of marriage. Weird. 5. Will she agree to no contact for life with the OM? Did not discuss the topic yet. 6. Will she quit her job? Did not discuss yet. 7. Is the OM married? Yes. 8. Do you want to stay in the marriage? I have not even considered that. I seem to be more focused on, what the hell have I been doing with my life the last 17 years? And why did this happen to me? 9. Do you have any children? No. The whole experience of talking to her for about 1 hour today about this seemed surreal. Her ways of thinking and explaining things were so foreign to me. Before she was clear-cut and black and white about issues like infidelity when other people did it. I got the sense until she saw my reaction that she did not think cheating was a deal breaker. It was something that could be worked on, and through the process we would come out better for it afterward. Shocking. She said I was too critical about a couple of situations. I was bewildered by that statement. I had to press for an example because I am truly a mild-mannered person. It turned she did not like it sometime in the past when I warned her about drinking and driving. She got out of the car once and I smelled alcohol and she seemed a wee bit tipsy. In her head, I guess I am not supposed to speak up when I see a safety issue. The real shocker about that statement was that she later admitted she slept with him that very night and used my comments to justify further liaison. I learned today from my wife of 17 years. 1. The physical affair was unprotected. I will be arranging an STD test this week. 2. Getting caught was the only consideration for stopping. Not guilt, not remorse, not anything. 3. The affair was at work, in a hotel and in a restaurant. I had no inkling about this side of her. She has always been modest with me. 4. She said that their relationship had no negative effect on our marriage or how she treated me. She felt as though she kept the two separates. Wow. 5. She shared very personal information of mine with him. I had to stop the conversation there. It was a bit much to think of at one time. My wife informed me today that she wants to do whatever it takes to save the marriage. She said she began counseling last week. It was her therapist who was behind her strange statement about now being faithful during marriage. She shared the following information with me today. 1. The affair began the very week I approached her with a serious medical issue. I was about to undertake some medical tests and procedures and was scared. Like most men, I always kept my doctor's visits quiet and to myself. I told her that day that I needed her. It was the first time I ever told anyone that I needed them. She also did something I still can't make sense of. That very week they started the affair, she gave me a couple's book. I felt like I was in the twilight zone. I could not even ask her to explain this. 2. No gifts, no cards, no flowers, no vacations, no I love you and etc. that I did had any effect on her decision to start the affair or stop it. 3. The reason for no condoms was that it is the guy's responsibility. Alcohol, and he told her he gets 2 blood tests a year for an insurance policy. 4. She said that one of the reasons for the affair was anger she was feeling towards me. I just could not relate to anger being the reason to do something like this, so I asked her if she could elaborate a little bit about what specifically she meant by anger. Well, for the next 10 minutes she slowly released an angry, hateful tirade on me like I have never experienced in my life. She yelled, hollered, swore and wagged her finger at me like a drill sergeant. I was shell-shocked when she was done. I could not say one word. It made me feel bad about myself. How could I be so close to someone on one hand and so far apart on the other? I chose not to debate, argue any of her points because some seemed so hard to believe. At times I felt as though I was getting the truth on one hand, but at other times, I just could not believe she could believe herself what she was telling me. I feel like Neo in the Matrix at times. After talking with her at times, up is down, true is false, hurt is love, and illusion is reality. In my head and heart, this marriage is over. I am someone who always tries to do right, and this marriage does not feel right. I am not interested in marriage counseling or second, third, fourth, fifth, or whatever try it is. I am partly just stunned how 1 minute you are living one life and after a 2-minute stupid conversation you are living an unexpected life. I deeply, deeply regret the time I have wasted with her. 1. I will be contacting the OM wives because of the STD issue. Strange coincidence is that the other man and his family left for a 3-week vacation the very next day after telling me the night before. It is just another example of how I cannot believe her. It seems awful convenient. 2. I will not be doing anything that prevents them from being together. Her quitting her job, telling her family, GPS. I will not be doing. Anything I can do to help these two ends up together will make me happy. They deserve each other. 2 cheaters. 3. Her therapist told her to come clean with past mistakes. She said she wants to talk to me about it tonight. I've decided I need to hear the truth, but I am not interested in hearing tonight. I am going to take an overnight mountain biking trip. I need a little break from Alice in Wonderland. 4. Last night while I was on the computer, I realized all the emails, photos, and voicemails from her. It is amazing how all this stuff tells of a wonderful marriage, yet the truth is otherwise. On the day she had the affair at the hotel, she left me a very loving voicemail 30 minutes before they did it, and then I got another loving voicemail shortly after they went to dinner to commemorate their deed. She called me before and after the fun and left me loving voicemails. Can anyone make sense of that for me? Had a great mountain biking ride yesterday. Fresh air, exercise, and a night away from home really clears the head. I decided to start a journal about my experience to help me keep track of the facts so that she does not try to snowball me later about what has happened. The way it stands today, I am done with marriage. Not just this marriage, but marriage for all time. I have an STD test scheduled, a lawyer visit scheduled, and next Tuesday I will inform the OMW for her personal STD safety. Today when I got home from my overnight trip, I found a sheet with a list of supposedly all my wife's past indiscretions, probably inspired by her therapist. After reading it, I believe she had to leave it to me to read alone. It would have probably been impossible for her to read this to my face right out of the gate. Pre-marriage, we dated 5 years, kissed and held hands with 6 different guys. These occurred at work or out dancing with girlfriends. While we were discussing our engagement plans, she had slept twice with a coworker at the time. The bizarre thing about this is that he had a very unusual name, and 6 months after we were married, we were supposed to meet him for lunch. He canceled at the last minute. I wonder why. Why would a woman attempt to bring her new husband to meet the guy she fooled around with while they were engaged? I just do not get it. During marriage, 17 years, 15 months after we married, she kissed a guy who was a friend of a friend. He had been over the house to play cards several times. He was so startled by her advance he asked her, "What about your husband?" To which she replied, "The magic is gone." 3 years after we were married, she met a coworker for dinner at a fancy hotel while I was out of town on business. She said they chatted, ate, and went for a stroll on the beach, but nothing happened. Is that really believable or possible? She flirted and squeezed a guy's knee at a conference, but nothing happened. The day before our 15th anniversary trip, she privately hugged a coworker goodbye in a parking garage, and then the following Monday when she got back to work, they went to lunch at the beach. But nothing happened, really. Put her head on a guy's shoulder at a party and told him he was special. She also said to him, "Another time, another place, too bad." There was a bunch of other smaller crap like secret emails while we were on vacation and stuff. I think she was detailed because she knows if I were interested in saving the marriage I would follow up on this stuff. I am not interested. That's more than enough info. I would like to note that some have asked to follow up questions to why certain things happened or not, and I have not provided any feedback yet. The reason is that I really have not been in a state of mind for follow-up questions. I am just letting her talk away and absorbing it. When I woke up this morning, I remembered an example of something she said that just floored me. She said they had slept together 5 times and neither of them had a good time. Is that freaking possible? Comments. 1. Which one of you was more ready to get married, her or you? Usually, one pushes for it before the other. Which was it in your case? 2. Why did her list of indiscretions not include the current affair? Or are you just leaving that out? 3. If you think back to those times, can you sense a distance from your wife? I know this all seems out of the blue, but if you really think about it, were there moments where things just weren't quite the same? 4. Did I hear right that she wants to work on the marriage? If so, what is her status with the other man? 5. Also, the current and some of the predating stuff happened at work. Same job, or different jobs. Now a comment. It sounds like she was really never a marriage person. She got married because you were the stable presence in her life at the time and it seemed like the right thing to do. But really, to me, it sounds like her heart was never really in it. Many kisses and hand-holdings while you dated. The magic was gone just 15 months into the marriage. That tells me there really never was any magic. You were just the one that was there at the time. She's getting her short-term doses of magic elsewhere. OP responds, when people ask us about how we got married and stuff, I always tease that I had to finally propose because she never ever raised the issue. She would say things like, I knew when the time was right, he would ask. But looking back, she never talked about it once. Wow, how did I miss that one? 2. It was me who left it out. 3. There were times she would go out a lot with girlfriends and leave me alone. Sometimes I did wonder if she didn't worry about me chasing other women because of my background and character, or maybe now when I think about it, she really did not care. Said. 4. Yes, she does want to work on it. She sent me texts last night that I did not respond to, indicating the horrible mistake she now realizes she made. She said she is going to cook me supper tonight. That would be a first in years. She does not mention the OM and her feelings and thoughts about him. I have taken that as a very bad sign. I have not directly asked because I do not want to steer her in a particular direction. I would prefer the natural truth play out. 5. All occurred at different jobs except the garage hug and affair. I went for my STD testing today. Things were a bit backed up, so I had to wait 2 hours even though I had an appointment. As I sat there waiting, I had time to reflect on the affair and how insensitive my wife and the other man were to my well-being and his wife's well-being. It was really sobering. Just to think in the year 2021 my wife would have no concerns over unprotected affair and STD. The only thing I can think of is that people just do not think it can or will happen to them. I will now keep my fingers crossed and wait for the results. I spoke to a friend last night who went through a divorce 10 years ago. He came home and caught his wife in bed with another woman. Her famous words to him as he walked in on them were, I'm gay. Because there was no possibility of reconciliation, she agreed to have an amicable divorce with him and not give all their money to lawyers. He told me the website to get the forms and instructions. It's only 2 brief pages. When she finally realizes the reality of our future, I will present it to her. By the way, she did cook me supper last night. I did not have the heart to tell her it was terrible. She is very rusty in the kitchen. The dinner was another situation that put things in perspective. She could cheat on me with unprotected affair. Yet I did not desire to hurt her feelings over a meal. We really were living in 2 different worlds. She spoke briefly last night about the affair situation. She said another thing that made my jaw drop that I had to respond to. She said to me that if I had ever directly asked her if she was having an affair, she would have told me the truth and stopped immediately. I said, who the hell goes around randomly asking their spouse, are you cheating on me? She got a goofy look on her face and replied, good point. By the way, I have downloaded the 2 voicemails she left me before and after she cheated me at the hotel. I do not want to salvage my marriage. I'm only contacting OMW because of the unprotected affair issue. I had my STD test yesterday and I think she should too. I found out she is a RN at a local hospital. I do not think she is going to be too happy about the unprotected affair. I think that angered me more than the affair. My wife and I had a friend years ago whose wife cheated on him and gave him venereal warts. It really changed his life. It made it very difficult for him to meet someone new. It was like a double punishment. It was very sobering sitting there waiting for my turn and then answering the questions they asked me. Scary and humbling at the same time. When the nurse left the room, I choked up and cried a bit. I could not believe the position someone I so dedicated my life to could carelessly treat my well-being like that. I have to admit I put my WW in the same category as the OM. I really have no confidence in her and her physical activities. She could be as bad if not worse than the OM. I will tell that to his wife as well. I thought about to contact the other woman today, how I had to tell her next week, and it made my stomach turn. I am still going to do it, but I hate the fact that I am going to bring such unhappiness to someone's life. I never imagined in a million years I would ever be in this position. Aggravating. Days later, watching my wife this weekend, her behavior, conversations, body language. You would think her affair is well in the past. I swear she doesn't even appear to even reflect upon it. She is back to behaving like she did before she told me about the affair. I guess after she said, sorry, she moved on. I have chosen not to drive the conversations because I am not interested in reconciliation, but her ineptness to explain all that was going on is like a clear indication of her lack of feelings towards me. Wow, cold. Is she in a fog? Denial. 2 days later, I informed the OMW today. It was one of the most difficult things that I have ever had to do. I would like to thank everyone for their inputs on how to do it. Your suggestions really did help. The last couple of days my stomach has been in a knot thinking about having to do this. I am glad it is done and I am satisfied I did the right thing. I tried to do it over the phone. When I called the home phone number I had for the other man, a recording came on and said, The number you are calling is no longer in use. I was really bummed with this. So next I tried calling her at her work. They told me that I would have to speak with HR and they would forward the call request if she worked there. I decided not to involve her job. My stomach is now starting to rumble again. So, I decided to type up a letter to her and I would go to her home, and if she was not home, I would leave the letter in the mailbox. I got to the home and rang the bell. A teenage girl came to the door and said her mother was home. I swear time stood still while I waited for the 30 seconds or so it took the OMW to come to the door. I felt like running. The OMW got to the door and I cut right to the chase. I told her my name and informed her that I was there because my wife and her husband were having an affair. I was taken back a little bit by her initial response. She seemed more suspicious of me than shocked, surprised by what I said. I was nervous. She then put both of her hands on her hips and asked me sternly how I knew this. I was prepared for this response because thanks to you who took the time to advise me on being prepared with objective proof. Without this message board I would have been caught off guard by her question. I told her my proof and her hands dropped from her hips and she shook her head and mumbled something in anger. I told her I was sorry for what happened and I deeply regretted for having to be the bearer of bad news. I told her that I decided to tell her because of the unprotected issue. She listened and asked me just one question. She wanted to know my wife's full name. I told her my wife's name, then told her I wished her well and I said goodbye. The sense I got from her body language, speaking tone and facial expression was that she was not totally surprised by the situation. Either he had been caught doing this before or the love was already gone from the marriage. She did not ask me one detailed question. My WW appears to be in a bubble. I swear things are back to normal for her. She let me know today that she made dinner plans for us both Friday and said it with friends, to which I immediately replied I would not be attending. I have noticed that she has not lost 1 minute of sleep too. I have been following the 180 principles. I do not question her or argue with her. To me, it just compounds how little she felt towards and cared for me. I would like her to get to a point where I could discuss an amicable divorce with her, but at this point it doesn't even seem like she realizes we have a marriage problem. How long does it take someone to come out of this funk? Do I wait patiently or is there something I should be doing? Got my STD results and all was negative. In celebration I will be having an ice-cold Newcastle. By the way, the nut is now emailing every 2 hours to tell me how her day is going. I swear I am going to wake up any moment and find out this was a bizarre nightmare. While I have accepted the truth of the situation, it still seems so surreal. A week later, in trying to better understand the dynamics of this affair in my life, I have gone through and read dozens of previous posters' experiences. One theme I have read about is the betrayed spouse's internal debate about whether to give up on the truth search even though their gut is telling them something still is not right. Usually, the WS has shown contrition and interest in reconciliation with plenty of tears and promises of already full truth disclosure. Do not believe the liar for a minute. Stick with your gut. Here's why. Last night my wife approached me at 9:30 p.m. and told me the first of 2 dinner dates this weekend was cancelled because someone was ill. Sticking to the 180 programs, I politely thanked her for the info and reminded her that I had already turned down both invitations. Wife then asked me, "Do you mind if I ask you why?" In my head all I heard was why. I instantly thought about something what 8-year-sheeting wrote. The fog starts to dissipate after NC is firmly in place and she gets through her grieving of the loss of her OM. It's not completely gone until she starts to take ownership for her actions. Then she has to forgive herself and understand why she did what did without blame shifting. Then the fog is gone. Right now, she is still in the it will all go away mode. She hasn't accepted responsibility or faced herself in the mirror yet. I told her it was late and I did not want to talk about it this time. I went to the computer and looked up our latest cell phone bill, convinced that my WW and the other man must still be in contact. I was convinced I was going to see phone and text records post D-Day. I was 100% wrong. There were no records of their contact after the day before she told me of the affair. Surprised, I was about to click the web page close and go to bed. I then quickly clicked the previous month's statement and found at least 100 texts to a different phone number. I then checked several other monthly statement and same thing, tons of emails. Stunned, I asked my wife whose number was this. Her reply, "That's my flirty friend." What the hell? I said to myself. She went on to explain he was a coworker. She said, "I told you a long time ago he found me attractive." I asked her if this has been going on for a while. She said, "Yes, but that even though they were attracted to each other they were both married and nothing would happen. It was just flirting." My blood starting to boil, but I kept my cool. I asked her to give me an example of the most intense of these flirts got. She said, "One time he texted me what he would do to me physically if had the chance under the right circumstances." I asked her why she did not disclose this information on D-Day. She said it was just flirting and not the same. I asked her if she deleted these texts from her phone. She said, "Yes." I asked if they were so innocent, then why did you delete them? She said, "Because I did not want you to see them." I lost it at that point. With a selection of choice words, I informed her that she was a liar. liar with pants on fire. I restart the 180 programs today. Lesson learned, never trust a liar. Trust your gut. Last night when I tried to raise the issue of a trial separation, she cried and ran upstairs. I think the fog, denial is clouding her mind and she is nowhere near resolving the matter. I am partly to blame for last night. I let her comments get to me. It is just so shocking after 17 years with someone to have conversations like this. Next my mother will call me and tell me she has joined the mafia to be a hit woman. Thought I would update to let you guys know how things are going. I have been eating good and exercising. I think that really does help with making me feel good. I have been spending much more time with and on me. I am almost done reading Not Just Friends by Shirley Glass. Excellent book with facts and stories that really hit home. I am following the 180 rules and I can see it is starting to have some effect on her. Last night she had a funny look on her face like she wanted me to start a conversation, but I was not biting. So, as I was reading, she blurts out, "I told you I sent photos of myself to my flirty friend, right?" I just looked up from my book and shook my head no. She then follows up with, "Then I probably should tell you that I did try to arrange to have drinks with him one night." I looked up and said, "Yes, you should have," and I went back to reading my book. This trickle truth stuff is amazing. I could tell by her facial expressions there is a real debate going on in her head about telling me what she has yet to admit to. My wife's closet friend happens to be a female co-worker. This co-worker has always been polite and friendly to me. In fact, I like her. She seems nice. Here is the issue. My wife is talking the other night and she tells me how her co-worker friend told her about a very personal matter. The issue is something she did that is kind of contrary to her image. All of a sudden, my intuition kicked in and I said to myself, if she is telling my wife this kind of personal information, what kind of stuff has my wife shared with her? I should note that this co-worker friend of my wife is also very good friends with the man my wife had the pa with. She also knows the man my wife had the E with. Should I keep this woman out of my life? My intuition seems to be telling me she probably knows more details about what went on than I know about. Well, the co-worker friend is out of my life. Went through some emails between her and my wife and found the following. 1. Knows and probably knew about the physical affair. 2. Knew about emotional affair. 3. Was angry at me for fighting with wife about these issues. 4. Told wife to consider if I was a good enough husband for her. 5. Wife shared my personal matters with her. 6. Knew about my wife's excessive flirting. 7. Post-affair, told my wife I was controlling because I told my wife to stop drinking alcohol during work hours. This is a woman I have had over my house, a woman I have paid to take out to dinner with us, a woman I have helped with car problems, a woman who has slept over my house, a woman I have gone to give a ride home because she had one too many, a woman who smiles to my face and hugs me. Duck her. By the way, this is all new info I had to find out myself. My wife is still lying and doing trickle truth. Weeks later, update, forced wife to end relationship with this female co-worker earlier in week. Wife is 100% convinced this woman cannot be in her life and be married to me. Wife shared with me some more aspects of their relationship. 1. Wife claims co-worker friend and she did not discuss physical affair ever. 2. Co-worker friend was physically present at all locations wives had a physical time with other man. Work, business trip and restaurant. Wife claims it was behind co-worker friend's back, eyesight. 3. Told my wife I was the kind of man who my wife could never make happy. 4. Co-worker friend had physical affair with the married brother of my wife's affair partner. 5. Recently told my wife she once considered being my wife's affair partner's fun buddy because his wife did not treat him right. 6. Co-worker friend saw my wife's affair partner in the hall at work last week and told my wife, "I just love him. He is such a nice guy." 7. Listening to my wife, I almost got the sense that she and her co-worker friend got off on each other inappropriate behavior. I have seen some indications of changes in her behavior and attitude. She will mention things that she has remembered that might be of concern to me in terms of her past behavior. I also have to admit when I was talking about her toxic friend it did seem as though I actually saw a light bulb go off in her head about this woman. She actually wrote out what she was going to tell the toxic friend and asked me my opinion. She also claims that she has stopped all lies and trickle truth about the affair. She also volunteered to take and pay for a polygraph test. Those are the positives. On the other side, I still see the fog in her eyes. I still do not think she fully grasped yet the atomic bomb nature of her actions. I hit the stage 3 depression stage yesterday hard. Out of nowhere my emotions plunged into a deep dark place that lasted for about 5 hours. I have always been a positive, take action kind of guy who does not put himself down. It took all my mental strength to pull out of it. I spent the rest of the night reflecting about all the negative thoughts this experience has evoked in me. I am also starting to feel a bit foolish about red flag items I clearly missed or chose to ignore for some reason. While in the depression, I was pretty hard on myself for these lapses. I was scheduled to visit family next week, but I am going to cancel for now. I would not want them to see me the way I was yesterday. A year later update. This past year's experiences have had a powerful and transformative effect on my life. What started out as an issue between my wife and I have rippled through almost every major aspect of my life. My views and beliefs on friendship, family, marriage, money, and myself have all changed dramatically for my betterment. The emotional cloud of my D-Day lifted about a month ago, and how wonderful it was to experience joy and happiness again. I was so happy I cried. To all of you who have recently been shoved into the black hole of infidelity, in time it does get better. In January, I decided to reconcile with my wife after 3 significant events. 1. I served my wife with divorce papers, and it truly rocked her world. You can see the change in her eyes, her voice, and her behavior. While I am rooting for her, our continued success, she is aware that the divorce papers will remain in my bank lockbox forever, and that I will proudly divorce her if she backslides. 2. After 6 months of chasing him, I was finally able to smoke the OM out of his hole and make him apologize to me. Sure, the police, lawyers, and a judge had to be brought into it, but it was worth it. If I think about the OM now, I actually laugh now. Half a year later, I think she's playing me. After being cheated on by her, I am no longer trusting of my own perception of her. The reconciliation appeared to have been going great over the past 6 months. In particular, with a little hiccup here and there. I knew it would take time, and I could not expect perfection but continuous improvement. Well, the other night we were getting along great and were getting ready to go out for dinner when all of a sudden, she said something subtle that just rung like a bell in my ear. She said how she always tried to bring stability to our relationship. I calmly said to her, "Did you hear what you just said?" She replied, "Yes." I waited for her to correct herself, and she didn't. I then told her that WSs do not have the habit of bringing stability to a household. One thing led to another, and I began to tally several areas, minor not major, that she had actually been slipping on lately. She said she was lazy, and that was why some of those things were slipping. These things that she let slip, while minor, were still part of our reconciliation agreement. So, I asked her to go to a hotel for a couple of days so we could both think about it without fighting. So, after 3 days apart, I get this email today. "I miss you very much. I haven't been sleeping very well." Who knew, eh? And I tear up easily and frequently. When I think about who and what I have been all my life, I do not like it. I have dreams of regular everyday occurrences with strangers where I feel bad afterward about how I behave or come across. And even though I told myself before that I have to think before I react, speak in any and every situation, I do not. Big surprise. I feel that the situation happens too fast. I don't even know if that's an explanation or an excuse anymore. I want you to ask me back, but since I easily forget both my bad behavior and my pain, I am afraid I will just go back to my same old self. And right now, I can't honestly say that I feel like a different person, and I don't have any answers. You miss my good parts, but the rest of me doesn't cut it and doesn't compare favorably to others. And even though I think that deep down inside I am a good person, just misguided and shaped this way, liberal, I haven't behaved as such, and I have never really paid any consequences. Does anyone go through life without paying? I have written and rewritten this email. I miss you. During a normal conversation with my wife last week, she described our marriage in a way that was clearly and factually wrong. It was like her mind was slipping into a per-day view of our relationship. She was talking to me, but it was like she was talking out loud to herself and trying to convince herself that the past was not that bad for us. I then looked closely at her reconciliation commitments and began to realize she had begun to slip on some items there too. Things like keeping her side of the bedroom clean, keeping her bathroom clean, and not being lazy. When I pointed these things out, she admitted she had become a bit lazy recently. I asked her to go to the hotel because she was admitting to being lazy about her reconciliation commitments, and she was returning to the fog in her view of our past. She acknowledged, in our reconciliation, that she needed to do heavy lifting to help save our marriage, not fantasy thinking and slacking. Well, we met on Sunday to discuss where we were at and what was going on. She admitted that, in addition to the things I raised the other night, there was another issue. Just the day before my intuition went off, she had started up another flirty relationship at work. She told him she was married and would not cheat, text, or talk on the phone with him, but was willing to just chat from time to time. She said the attention made her feel good. She of course apologized profusely and said she was committed to making our marriage work. She informed him there would be no further contact. What the hell? I have all the divorce documents ready, so after the first of the year it will be time to put this marriage to rest. It is time to start my new life. What a long, strange trip it has been. My comment: it took over a year to get out of this mess, but he is out of it. The person in front of him is just a shadow, a memory of the past. Nothing more. Hope you guys liked this one. I liked the ending of this one. Let me get one more video in for today, and I will see you in the next story.